Welcome back to New Day. The newspapers are ready. The Business Finder starts this morning and says a great need for clear information to guide prospective investors. Photograph of the Agric Minister and a businessman there. The Daily Guide, 4 MPs busted for visa fraud. And also, Nana names 212 DCs. Also on the front page of the Daily Guide. The Ghanaian Times, visa fraud rocks Parliament. Photographs of the 4, a former member and 3 certain ones. And President nominates 212 MDCs. The Daily Statesman, corruption at the Petroleum Commission. And Akufo-Addo revives threats over Galamsey. The MMDC story is also there. Daily Graphic has the Parliament story. And the Independent talks about the Speaker angry and vows to crack the whip against MPs. The Heritage mentions the MDC story, 212 of them. And of course, final one here, the Newsday talks about firefighting blunder at Coconut Grove. Sack Chief Fire Officer, Brangage's expertise is all talk, enraged commanders say, and then you can't imprison Ibrahim Maham because he owes top NPP lawyer defense. These are some newspapers I have with heat to this morning. My guest, David Kofi Waku, is the Chief Executive Officer of Wealth Vision Financial Services, formerly of the Bank of Ghana. Good morning.
Good morning.
And thanks so much for joining us. And then the Member of Parliament for Second D, Andrew Ejapa-Mensah, is also here. He's also a legal practitioner. Good morning, too.
Good morning.
And thanks so much for joining us.
Pleasure.
And then the Member of Parliament for the Cape Coast South constituency, a member of the NDC, Kweku Reketegan. Good morning, too. And thanks so much for your time. Let's start from Parliament. Not very good news yesterday. And 3 MPs, about 3 newspapers carrying the story. Daily Graphic says 3 MPs in trouble over visa racketeering. Speaker to investigate. Of course, the leaked document was said to have been intercepted by some media houses, and eventually some reactions were sought. The Speaker of Parliament, Professor Mike Ironokwe, has vowed to deal with members of Parliament who have been cited for engaging in visa racketeering using their diplomatic passport. We're told that some discussions are already ongoing. That's the story so far. Now, let me begin with you, since you are from Parliament. Mr. Kukuhegan, is this an issue that you think affects the credibility of Parliament? Some have argued against it. How does it affect Parliament's integrity, members of Parliament's integrity?
Well, thank you very much, and good morning to your viewers and your listeners. It definitely affects Parliament. I mean, anything that is deemed to be criminal in nature, to any institution will actually tarnish it. And then Member of Parliament, which is a body supposed to be an honourable body of the country, with such allegations, it's quite troubling. I think I heard about this issue not too long ago, and my understanding was that it was being investigated, because obviously these are allegations by the British Embassy or the embassies concerned, and they have obviously written to Parliament, to alert Parliament of this problem. And obviously you can't just agree that what has happened should be taken as given. Therefore, it should be investigated to make sure that, because these affects lives of people and credibility, and therefore if it's not handled properly, and in the end we find out that maybe that is not the case or something else, because there are some complexities in these visa applications on who you apply visa for and all that. I mean, I do understand. I can see, being an MP, I can understand where sometimes people have travel challenges,
right,
that they go to their MP, that to see if they can help. People believe that people of authority or in certain positions can help, not necessarily to go and do something wrong, but to see if you can, help them, and then you have to use your, judgment as to if somebody has a genuine case. I mean, I've got a student who was going to study in China, something medicine, and then had everything, fees and everything paid, but was being denied a visa, and he didn't know the reason why he was denied a visa. So he brought this to my constituents to my attention, and I called the Chinese ambassador, who fortunately I had the opportunity to know closely in my days. This was when I was a Central Region Minister, but I had the opportunity to know her, quite closely during my days at the Ministry of Trade, and then obviously the construction of the Cape Coast Stadium and all that, which was built by Chinese. So I called her and said, look, madam, this is the problem that one of my constituents is facing with regards to visa to travel to do medicine in China. I don't know what the problem is, but can I please, submit or redirect wherever his documents are for you to take a look and see whether, there's a problem. I mean, so these interventions do happen, from time to time, but as to going to collect, a visa on behalf of someone fraudulently or to, those things are, can be problematic. And obviously, not only in Parliament, it happens pretty much everywhere. And
for those in authority.
And the problem that not only those in authority, people who can't influence or have any kind of influence, that somebody feels that they can help. The problem this creates for all of us is that it makes these embassies very, if you want to travel, it creates a lot of problems in terms of doubting the documents you have either provided. Cases where I hear people are asked to bring all sorts of, information before they travel. Some are actually irrelevant, but we've gotten ourselves into a situation where these things happen. So we need to work together with these countries to clean up this act and make sure that, people don't abuse, their position. But then, of course, it needs to be handled cautiously, because I hear some of the MPs are, disagree with what has come out.
What has come out.
And basically, it is very difficult to build an image, but very, very easy to destroy it. So you have to be careful. I don't know where the leak actually came from, but then obviously once you have sent a letter from point A to point B,
it could leak some.
Interceptions could be quite many. So that is the troubling part for me. And then especially in recent days or months, where the image of Parliament has actually become problematic as a result of the recent scandal in this seventh Parliament. So you don't want a series of these issues, or this becomes a trend. In the end, what it does is that it puts all of us together as people that
are engaged in this kind of
thing. And we are supposed to be representing our constituents and be representing a country and be the legislative arm of government.
I see. I'm grateful. Honorable Mesa, from what the story he's just told us, it means that it is not an entirely abuse of the privileges that an honorable member of Parliament has.
Yes, thank you, and good morning to your viewers. I share the sentiments that have been expressed by my, excuse me, my colleague.
Sorry about that.
It's unfortunate that this issue has turned out the way it is. I recall that during our orientation as a freshman of the 7th Parliament, we're informed about this letter, and we were cautioned that owing to pressures from constituents, like he narrated, some people with genuine intention of helping may do a favor that would end up in trouble for them. So we should be cautious as new MPs in how we deal with these matters, because it could lead you into trouble. So the headline and the nature of the reportage seem to suggest that these people are fraudulent people who abuse the office for purposes of personal gain. That is where I find a little bit problematic, because if you look at the story in detail, you would see clearly that it is not the case that these visas were procured with fraudulent intent. You know, I understand that one of the MPs involved, the lady that he procured a visa for was someone who had helped him extensively during his campaign,
right,
and had requested for his assistance to enable her travel to the UK for holidays. She went and never came back. She's never even called or written or even sent an email on even one occasion to the MP. But here is a case that he's been embroiled in this scenario and has been painted as a fraudulent person who, as it were, exploits his privilege for personal gain. So, like Kweku said, this should be handled cautiously and the proper investigation conducted to ascertain the veracity or otherwise of, as it were, whether there was in fact some fraud that had been perpetrated on the part of these MPs, or that, you know, out of some magnanimity, you know, with a very clear conscience, not intended on benefiting financially. Because, of course, how much are you going to gain from engaging in visa fraud? You know, and it's not like the numbers of people who these people are alleged to have sent away are many. So one individual in each case. So, you know, the balancing should be done properly. And like Kweku said, it's unfortunate that some of us new ones have found ourselves in Parliament at a time when, you know, scandals are being thrown left, right, center. It makes us sometimes wonder whether we are in the right place. But I guess it comes to the territory. Yeah, real baptism of fire in this case. I'm sure that Parliament as an institution will ride the storm, and we would come out to be seen as the institution that we are, representing the embodiment of our people, and passing laws, as it were, and placing a check on the executive to ensure that the resources of the state are managed properly.
I'm grateful. Mr. Waku, should we be worried about the leakage of the document? This is a document that was to go to the Speaker of Parliament. It gets intercepted somewhere. Generally about this, should we be worried about it?
Yes.
Or how worried should we be?
Yeah, personally, I think we should be worried about it. This is a private a letter directed to a certain institution. It's not for public consumption as it comes. And also, as the media is taking it, is just speaking about one side of the case. We didn't give opportunity to those involved also to hear their side of the story, and clearly captured as a visa fraud or whatever. I don't know whether it is the process that they go through that is wrong, or the people not returning that makes the mistakes. So we need to clearly understand and give opportunity to them to explain. Before even the media coverage, you should also be careful how you present it so it doesn't just look like, because many people may not take time to read through the whole story to know exactly what the issue is. It's just take the headlines and it turns out to mean so many stories. And I want to use this opportunity also to encourage our youth and people of Africa. It is time we have confidence and build our own system. Why must you travel and want to remain in a foreign land? You have no background where your life is going to be. Why don't we stay here, help ourselves, develop our own land, and live a comfortable life here? We need to be careful how we do these things. Back to the question, it is important the way issues are being linked here and there now. I'm not sure it's going to help our development. Whatever is meant to be private should be private. Even if you have opportunity to intercept this, treat it as such. We shouldn't just put it in the public domain and just use it to destroy people's reputation, like one of the speakers said.
What about if it will, in a way, help clean clean society?
I believe there are several ways or better way of cleaning systems. This is a private letter written to the speaker. He has ways and means to deal with it. Let's allow the system to work, not to give it to public scrutiny for everybody the way this thing is being blown now, it become a global issue now, and many people may not have opportunity to deal with it the right way it should be dealt with. So I don't see it as a way of cleaning the system.
I see. Honorable Minister, so people are already beginning to talk about reviewing the whole process of MPs' acquisition of parliament, suggesting, for instance, that diplomatic passports and all that should be withdrawn, and when they leave office, how long can they keep the diplomatic passport? How can we deal with this problem?
Well, frankly, I don't really have any issue as to whether the passports are withdrawn or otherwise. I guess that is for good reason that the authorities decided that it was useful for MPs to be given diplomatic passports. I, in my personal capacity, don't have any issue with acquiring visa to any country for whatever reason.
Your diplomatic passport doesn't quicken things for you?
I don't see it. You know, like I said, I'm a new member of
Parliament. Can do all things if you have it.
I got mine about a week or so ago, and I've not used it. And I have visas to all the places that, maybe not all the places, but of course the key countries that I've frequently visit or have some work to do there. But like I said, you know, as to whether it's withdrawn or not, I don't have any issue with it.
Would you recommend MPs they're taken away from MPs?
I really don't have any issue whether it's kept or withdrawn, because I don't see to what extent that it would either create an advantage or otherwise for me. But like I said, it probably was for good reason, and I don't know the reason why MPs were given diplomatic passports. Maybe Kweku, who's been there longer, would be in a better position to enlighten us as to why. But my understanding is that because we perform official functions within and outside the borders of this country, it aids in your travel arrangements when you have one, you know. And I for that reason, I think it may be useful for the MPs to have it. But in all sincerity, I really don't. I'm nonchalant.
I see.
About whether MPs have diplomatic passports.
Honorable Ricketts, until I think was until the tenure of Professor Mills, the late Professor Mills, MPs only had, I think, service passports, not diplomatic ones. So should we go back because of what has happened?
Well, you know, we all know that the image of members of parliament has been dented, obviously, for things that has taken place recently. But I have a problem when people are, you know, trying to say that members of parliament don't deserve some privileges they have and so many other things. And I find that, you know, quite troubling. Obviously, the image hasn't helped, you know, because of things that have happened. But I don't see the problem with members of parliament having diplomatic passport. I mean, members of parliament are part of government. This law has been in our, you know, statute for quite some time, over the 60s. Okay, it did not apply to, or it wasn't given to members of parliament at the time, because this was at the, you know, basically it was for government officials. Right. So it was at the discretion of, you know, subsequent, you know, government to decide on who within the government structure. As you know, there are three arms of government. You have the executive, the legislature, and the judiciary, who should be getting it. As you rightly said, during Mills's time, you know, it was decided that members of parliament should also get it because they do, you know, considerable amount of traveling. Quite recent, not about a week or so ago, we had a delegation from the European Union who came to visit Parliament, you know, to discuss, you know, trade matters. And I saw, you know, them holding their diplomatic passport. You know, you want to treat your members of Parliament in a certain way when they travel. It doesn't give you anything. I mean, diplomatic passport doesn't feed you. But when it helps ease, you know, traveling. Right. I mean, when I was a minister, you know, I had the diplomatic passport to help me, travel. It makes, you used to go for a visa anyway, to quicken things and all that. When you get to, any country at the airport, you will see signs for diplomats and other, citizens and others. So you realize that maybe that queue is shorter because you're going to transact government's business. You've done a long journey. Some ministers do, or some members of parliament, depending on committees they serve, do multiple travels in a year. You want to give them some level of comfort to be able to reach the destination and get to their hotels or whatever, And then and they need to be treated with, some kind of respect if they go out. For those outsiders, if you arrive and you are a member of parliament from Ghana, you are accorded the respect that you deserve. It doesn't take you to a VVIP like you used to be in those days. But just to get through to the airport, to get to wherever you are going, it doesn't really give you.
So MPs need these passports?
Well, MPs, government officials who do traveling, whether they are in the executives, whether they are in the judiciary or the legislature, need to be able to get a little help that facilitates their travel. It doesn't, take anything away, but if you go to certain places, I mean, the service passport is obviously different from the diplomatic passport. The diplomatic passport is supposed to be higher. The service passport is given when you are going to actually transact,
government business.
Government business. So that extends to, public servants and all that, directors of ministries and all that who are going to conduct the business. So I think that is just there to differentiate it. But this idea that MPs don't deserve this, MPs don't do that. I mean, if we don't want to be in a democratic system, then we might as well call it a quit. If there are problems we need to deal with, we should deal with them. I mean, no system is perfect. You wouldn't go to any country and find 100% system, corrupt-free system. Yes, it may be lower. So I find it difficult when some of these people come here and then they give the impression that this is a rotten system and that systems elsewhere are perfect. There's no perfect system anywhere. There are problems in the system. We need to cure the system of those. There are bad apples in the system we need to clean. There are people members of parliament, who are probably doing something that, and when these things are found out, we need to deal with it and perfect the society as we go on. We should not just rubbish and put things aside and say, look, these people are up to no good people. If we want to practice democracy, hey, democracy is tough, it's expensive, it's got difficulties. Let's deal with those difficulties rather than say we don't want to. Then let's go to a system where, we don't have any MPs. Maybe everybody represents themselves. People have a job to do. They have difficulties, challenges. I don't like it that, various scandals and other things are happening in Parliament because it tarnished my image as a member of Parliament representing my people. And I want to be able to help to clean this thing up. So we should not just, brush things aside and say people don't deserve this or that. The diplomatic passport, my brother said, we're giving for a reason.
I'm grateful. Mr. Waku, let me wrap up with you on this one. Now, the two members of Parliament seem to suggest that this goes a long way to affect the integrity of members of the House. Should we look at these persons involved detached from the House? Is that how we should discuss this issue? Detached,
I don't know what.
As individuals who have been alleged to have engaged in this, or it is Parliament, they are MPs, so Parliament as a whole.
No, I think the Parliament have a system of dealing with some of these things. Issues like this is referred to various committees to deal with, and the Speaker knows exactly what to do. Why don't we allow the administration of Parliament to deal with it? If we are not satisfied, then maybe we bring our concerns to it. As for detach, I think it's too early or a bit harsh for us to say that. We allow the system to work, and the Speaker can deal with it, I believe.
So we should not lump the all members of Parliament and say that because of this, their integrity is at stake. We should just look at these four who have been mentioned.
That is why I said earlier on, for now, it is not really proven whether the members have really committed a crime.
Right.
Like they are explaining. If you help somebody, the person travel over, and he or she didn't return, you don't have total control. Maybe
but
it should serve as a guideline for them now.
When we had responsible.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. It should serve as a guideline or an eye opener for whoever want to. If you don't have control of bringing the person back, don't do such a help. Don't give such an assistance.
It's a judgment call.
Yes. Yeah. So they need to learn from this, and unfortunately, they have been found to assist this whatever visa scandal you call it or problem. So the speaker will deal with it, I believe. They will call them to order. Whether they will need to go and find the people and bring them back to what do you call it? Try to gain their reputation and clear their name in the sight of British High Commission or whoever the authorities are.
That's up to the MP.
Okay. Bringing them back is what poses a challenge to me, because it's the British High Commission telling us that they, as a government, don't have what it takes to find these people wherever they are in the UK and bring them back if they have flouted their immigration rules, rather than impose the burden on the people who procured the visa for them to go, you know. So it's difficult, you know, but like Kweku has said and I've said, it's a judgment call. We have all learned lessons from these. You know, I have constituents who are hell-bent on traveling out of Ghana by all means. You know, and they expect that because you are their MP, you will help them to travel. Now, what do? You know, I've had to tell some of them that, look, this is the issue that is before us now, and we've been cautioned that unless there's a close family member, which is to say your wife and children, you're advised not to, involve yourself in procuring visas for third parties. You know, so that's what we have to deal with as politicians who our constituents look up to for help in matters of this nature.
Okay, I'm grateful, Honorable Mesa. Let's stay on another issue for now. The issue of the MMDC is announced. Almost every paper this morning has a story. The announcement by the local government minister, and then the fallout from various parts, some parts of the country. Not very good news there. Mr. Wako, I'm beginning with you. Did it come to us as a surprise, the reaction of supporters of the party rejecting some of these MDCs?
Not really at all, because the signs were there. After the nominations, there were signs. Chiefs and opinion leaders were writing to the president, we don't like this person, we want our own people, we want this or that. If you don't listen to it, we will not accept, and all those issues were there. The signs were there. I don't know whether the decision makers have really listened to some of those things, or they just decided to appoint whoever. And sometimes I think it's important for decision makers or the people in high position to listen to the masses on the ground, because these are people who are on the ground. They know their own people. They work with some people. So when they are saying some things, we don't look at some voices. In selection of these things, there are some powerful voices. Once they spoke, nobody questioned it. The names that they spoke for are giving the nod. But sometimes, really on the ground, they are not the right people.
But it's the job of the president to choose?
Yes, you choose, but I believe the Constitution also allows the president to listen to some advice as regards the choosing of these people. And everybody at that height, you may not have control over everything on the ground. So sometimes it's good just to listen to the people. You are appointing somebody to go and lead some people, and the people are not ready to be servant or subjects to whoever you are giving to them. How can the person lead? You may appoint, but at the end of the day, it turns out to be create trouble.
Is it worrying that the president sees Mr. A as competent to do the job? The grassroots supporters think Mr. B is a right person. It's a real difficulty.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. I don't want to believe that Mr. President has the capacity of that attribute that is given to God who knows all knowing. And yes, I don't think as human as we are, we may not be sure that we know everything. That is why sometimes it's important to listen to. Definitely, if there is a group of people and you want to appoint leaders for that group, it is important to listen to the people.
I see.
The person can be very good. Why do we go into elections and some people are very sure to win, but at the end of the day, they don't get it? Because the people decide who should lead them. That's democracy. So even though the president appoints, I think it's important to listen to the people. Yeah.
Let's hope that. Honorable Mesa, your campaign manager for 2016 said that every person was consulted, including assembly member. That's Mr. Peter McMahon talking. And if that happened, why why these reactions we're getting from all parts of the country?
Competing interest, heads or tails. You are screwed, pardon my French. But the truth of the matter is that the process was pretty extensive. And people were made to apply. There was a vetting committee at the regional level, which involved all the constituency executives and party elders within the constituency at the regional level. Shortlisted names were submitted to the committee in Accra. Consultations were done with the chiefs, opinion leaders, and all the stakeholders in the various districts, including MPs. Because, and Kweku will attest to this, there are instances where DCEs who are nominated or appointed because they want to get to parliament undermine the sitting MPs to beat them at their primaries, because they are in the constituency, you are in Accra.
I see.
So the MPs were consulted. I was consulted. Of course, I come from a metropolitan area, so there are 5 constituencies within our metro area. We met, and we submitted the name of our preferred candidate.
The choice one?
Of course. You know, extensive consultations were held. But that's the name of the game. I mean, it's interest. Competing interest all over.
Is it not extreme? Would you simply say it is the name of the game? Some have suggested it's so extreme. People getting angry, burning ties and all that.
Yes, I mean the reactions are pretty extreme, and this is not the first time that we are experiencing this as a country. It's a cyclical thing that every time that MMDCs are appointed, that's what we see. So how do we go beyond and move beyond this? Since I'm purely electing the MMDC so that whoever wins, you know. So I think it's over the past years we've not had a political will to elect our MMDCs, because we all know that you can't have a president, Nana Akufo-Addo, sitting in Accra and an NDC chairman being the district chief executive in, say, Cape Coast or Shama.
Politically, it's not possible.
Yeah. You know, the inherent problems that they are likely to create is what has accounted for our inability to go into an election.
Are you therefore
we have to get to that point.
Endorsing a party person for competence?
No, but of course, I mean, party persons go through process of elimination. So your competencies would be determined one way or the other before the elections are held. And in any event, if you are incompetent and everybody clearly sees that you cannot do the job, I don't see why they will vote for you to be their district chief executive. And I think it's important we get to that point, because then we can have real accountability, you know, in terms of our development paradigm, you know, is advanced at that level. You know, it would also take a little bit of pressure off the MPs who, yes, we are necessarily, because we are an evolving country, necessary development agents. The MMDC would have to be more creative in finding the resources to push development at the local level. So I think that we ought to get to that point. And His Excellency
the point of electing the MMDC.
point of electing.
But let me pick your brains
MMDC
first before I speak to Honorable Rickett Hagan. Look, the president appoints this person to represent him.
Yes.
Not to represent the party at the local level. Why then do party supporters want someone they prefer?
Same way with ministers. Same way with all the appointments that are made by an executive president. Everybody serves at the behest of the president. But every time there are appointments, including the creation of ministries, people criticize, including my brothers on the other side. Yet, the Constitution gives the power to the president to appoint as many ministers as he deems fit to enable him carry out his duties. Yet, he appoints 110 ministers and deputy ministers, and hell breaks loose. Everybody is bashing him. In the same vein, he has the power to appoint
because
MMDCs.
you have said earlier that the one who had just exited had too many. So that's why people will bash you, not because of the number.
No, but of course, I mean, this is politics. So there are some kinds of things that, you know, you say, you know, and the reality will dawns on you that, look, you need the numbers to perform the task that is ahead of you. And particularly when you meet a challenged economy that our brothers left for us, then there's some justification in terms of the numbers that His Excellency would need. You really want to go there? To execute his mandate. But, you know, but to the point, I mean, these appointments always come with agitations because people have their interest. I mean, the constituency party people want somebody there that they can easily access, you know, for the benefits that come with power. As though if they don't put somebody who is their preference there, then they have cause to complain. But this is all likely to come to an end in the next couple of years. And I'm hopeful that the president will carry out through the promise that he made to the people of Ghana to make the MMDC rules an elective rule, so that people can go in their individual capacities campaign with the support of their political parties. And if you emerge a winner, then you can be held accountable when you go back 4 years for a re-election or otherwise.
I see. I'm grateful. Honorable Rickett Hagan, so what is your reaction to what has just happened? And do you support the fact that the solution is electing these representatives?
You know, this whole thing is a shamble. This whole idea of, you know, appointing chief executives, you know, there are so many systems we have in this country that create a lot of problems for us, especially when it comes to, you know, chief executives of institutions and chief executives of districts and all that. You know, we don't seem to have even continuity, because one government is out and pretty much everyone is shifted away, new set comes in, and then they are shifted away. So many problems. I think the system we have at the moment is really not a good one. The president probably knows only about 1% of this chief executive. Probably, you know, met them on campaign, doesn't really know them. There are people cooking these positions for people and trying to do all sorts of things. Like my brother said, you know, even getting members of parliament and all that involved, because members of parliament are always looking behind them, because your next chief executive is actually preparing to unseat himself for herself, you know, to take your position, and that he wants that position to be able to control some resources that will make his or her job very easy in actually getting rid of you. And he said, while you are in Accra, you know, your position is basically they are working on how they can
to get you out.
So it's really not a good system, and I don't think the election one, you know, electing them necessarily going to be a good one. You know, if you want to go the election, I realize that some of these district executives, especially in Accra and Kumasi, they are called mayors.
Right.
If we want to go for the mayor system, that is, you are both an administrative head and a political head, then let's make it mayors and elect them with the responsibility that they are the administrative head as well as political head for the district that they control. When you have members of parliament, you know, when I became, as I said, I had a different view, but when I became a regional minister and I basically was in charge of this chief executive, I realized that the whole system is really rotten, and we need to really sort of clean up the whole system. My preference would be that if this is going to be an administrative position, chief executive in charge of a district, people must go for the job. Basically, you take in your CV, position becomes vacant, you take in your CV, there's a panel, it's part of the civil, you know, the whole civil service.
The Public Services Commission.
The public services, yes. So you take your, you know, CVs there when a position becomes vacant, you don't go with any party colors, and then you basically go for an interview and get a job, just like chief executives. If you want to use that chief executive, because the word chief executive is psychological. Right. Okay, so if you're going to use a chief executive in a political context, it itself gets misconstrued. So if you want to go for a mayor, when they say a mayor, if you come mayor of Paris, he's a political and administrative head. Mayor of New York, he's a political and administrative head. If you want to go for that system. But then this system we have at the moment of appointing people that the president don't know, but the president's signature is on the under the letter that these are president's preference, without any, you know, and then there are people who are, yes, interviews are happen, a lot of things happen on at the district level and all that, with party people coming in and choosing. Look, once the elections actually start, or even now, people are actually planning who is going to be chief executive in the next 4 years. And there are different factions trying to promote different people. And promises are made during elections to people that you are going to be the chief executive. The same position is given to about 4 or 5 people. So when the time comes and you have to choose chief executive after we have won the election, then other people are not qualified, or people are not faithful enough, or so many other reasons that create so many problems for us. By the time you go through this chief executive process and get someone in office, so many things will happen in so many places. By the time you get to office, the cracks are already there. There's nothing that you're going to do that will make you successful. Because people are eyeing your position, people have issues, you are not the right person. People within your own party will be sabotaging you to make sure. MPs will put people, it happens, will put people to keep a check on you. That, you know, you have people who are trying to hold on to MPs' common fund to make sure that they don't have enough money to do the things that will make them successful. So it becomes a system of a complete and a series of sabotaging. So the system doesn't actually help the man on the street or the person who needs development, but rather people use that system to basically enhance themselves, enrich themselves, and do so many things. So we either go for an elections to elect to get a chief executive, basically by applying for the job, just like chief executives are traditionally recruited, or we go for the mayor system where you are responsible for political and administrative system, so that you can create two powerful, you know, a mayor. I mean, somebody would prefer to be a mayor of a city than to be an MP. So if you have those options, then you choose to go for a mayor and you stay there. People move, in some countries, people move from mayor straight to run for president. You know, it happened. I mean, Jacques Chirac was a mayor of Paris and then became a president of France. So that people have that, this is my responsibility, this is a powerful enough a job. But a job that becomes like you are there, basically, you go there to mark time, to wait for your turn, to unseat your MP. For me, it's neither here nor there. And we need to move away from that. It creates all sorts of problems. By the time we get through this whole thing, will probably be towards around September. Some of the issues will not be resolved. I have sat in, what is it called, appointing chief executives when I was a regional minister, and it was such a messy process. So many things happened, the assembly people creating so many problems. In the end, nothing gets done. It becomes a stalemate, presiding member against a chief executive, against an MP, a whole lot of mess. Let's recruit a chief executive as an administrative head of a district. Or you go for a mayor system where the person becomes a political head. If it's a city, it's a city mayor of the city. If it's a district, yeah, you can call them mayor. So that we get that psychological thing and people know what they are doing. It's a mess. The president doesn't know 99% of the people
he has appointed.
He had put his name.
Then again, I mean, you and I know that in this polarized winner-takes-all political system, whichever appointments that will be made would be based on party colors, depending on which government is in power.
Let's not make it obvious.
The position is advertised and someone carries his documents.
The people in the communities know you, that you are NDC. They would tell the panel that, look, we are on
Don't give it to you.
Yes.
Well, but if you go to the election system, you are going to either elect an NDC
so it's a party,
or
yes, then we know that is a political party issue.
But it shouldn't be that way.
But how else can we resolve the
I mean,
the issues
there are
that
positions.
we have
There
now?
are positions in this country where people actually took a CV to go and apply for the job, and people know that they are likely to be NDC or MPP, but they are the ones there. You know, you can do your job. At the end of the day, everyone has a political affiliation. Everyone votes. Everyone has a party they vote for. But there are people who go about these things quietly. And if we create a better system, gradually, it won't happen overnight. Gradually, we will get that will emerge, and we'll get some sort of sanity in this kind of system.
I see.
We are not developing. We think we are.
But we are not.
We are putting people who are developing themselves. You know, developing themselves to become MPs or developing them, you know, for something else. Create
let's get ready to wrap up with this one. Already ran out of time. The president, the statesman is reporting, the president said that a threat of electoral defeat in 2020 cannot restrain his government from continuing the fight against illegal mining. And he says that no matter what, he's going to get these, clean the environment. Mr. Waku, we briefly on this one. Politicians, campaign periods, when they are in office, issue like this. He says, no matter what you say, I'm going to get this done. We should believe it will be done.
Yes, I want it done. I only have a little problem. I at this point not really expect the president to even link it to election or whatever.
That's the threat. That the people on the ground are issuing.
People are threatening him.
You are working.
We're going to vote you.
He's the chief executive of the country now. He's just working to do the right thing for the country. So continue your work, continue the good work, and just do your work. That's what the people are saying. If I were in that position, I won't even comment about it, because whatever it is, your party may need to win an election. Once you want to go into election, you want a win. So do your work. What is good for this country, do it for the country. For me, my biggest problem in even this whole Galamsey issue, we see how far our land, water bodies, and everything is destroyed. One question which is hidden, I'm not getting an answer to, is the gold we were mining, or the people are taking from the ground. Where is the gold? Are we having value for whatever?
The gold we're taking from the ground?
Yes. Where is the gold? That answer nobody is at. That question nobody is asking it, and getting the answer for it, but we are much concerned about how much our land and water bodies have been destroyed. Where, if we have that value, because whatever we are doing,
it should reflect.
It should reflect.
So if you go to these mining areas, you should see.
We should see something.
The amenities there to reflect that we're taking gold from.
If you go to farm, if you do cocoa farms, we see the result of what cocoa brings to this country. So where is it? Is it reflecting anywhere? Okay. If not, let's look at it beyond trying to repair and sanitize the system.
Okay, I'm grateful. Honorable Sir, so the president linking to elections, Mr. Waku is suggesting that he shouldn't have done that. He should just do his work.
Well, I can sleep with my eyes closed because this emphatic statement from His Excellency gives me absolute faith. I've always had faith in his leadership, and I'm firm in my mind that this is a president who is not interested in the next election, but the next generation.
So the threat of defeat,
the threat of defeat at the next election is a non-issue. I always have believed that as political leaders, we have to do what is right for our country, not what is expedient for purposes of electoral gain. And His Excellency has demonstrated clearly in his statements with respect to this Galamsey issue that he's all out to preserve our environment for the next generation. And I'm happy.
I like the smile. What is making you laugh?
I actually get worried.
You think the politician isn't able to do this?
Politicians will put ourselves in all kinds of trouble.
Yeah.
I like what my brother was saying. You see, when I hear statements like, I'm prepared to lose an election to do this. We have heard it in recent times.
The truth of the matter is that if he is able to do what he's promised to do, the people of Ghana, who are in the greater majority over and above the Galamseyers,
and lose the election?
No, of course, he's not going to lose the election.
But I am glad.
Of course. I'm definite.
As a member of the opposition, I am glad to hear such statement. I'm glad that he will sleep easily with it.
Neck out clearly.
You see,
because it has to be done.
It is unnecessary to come out and make such utterances. Just get the job done. We have elected you to get the job done. You see, these kind of utterances come when you had said certain things previously, and there's something going on social media. You can hear the president actually speaking, saying that Galamsey, this is not going to happen, this or that. And then you come into office and say, no, you are prepared to look, do the right thing. I agree with you. Let's do the right thing for the country. Galamsey is not a good thing.
So if he's emphasizing that he's going to do the right thing, then you have a problem with it.
No, my problem is just I'm prepared to lose an election. Who cares if
you and I are aware that people on the ground are threatening that if you stop us,
you should forget about those threats. People are threatening.
So you think he can ignore the election?
Go ahead and do it.
People are threatening every day about any government in power.
Right.
There are nurses sleeping
like the Chinese threatened you with a letter and you went to sleep.
There are nurses sleeping at the Ministry of Health.
Brought them a letter and they went to sleep.
There are so many things happening. Just get the job done and stop these utterances. This government talks too much and that's very little.
All right.
Get on with it.
I am grateful. Honorable Kweku Rukitegan is Member of Parliament for the Cape Coast constituency, a member of the MMDC. Grateful for your time this morning. And Honorable Andrew Ejapamesa is a Member of Parliament for Secondary, a legal practitioner and a member of the NPP. Grateful too for your time this morning. And David Wako is the Chief Executive of World Vision Financial Services, formerly of the Bank of Ghana. Grateful for your Thursday morning too.